this is a map of Australia, as you can see. It gives you some. It's a very old map, by the way. There's lots of places on it. But, should be. Basically, we arrived in Perth, spent some time there, drove down to Albany, and spent some time in this Margaret River area. Then drove back to Perth, and slowly made our way up the coast as far as this sort of area, Onslow, which is just north of the Tropic of Capricorn. So as you can imagine, it got hotter and hotter as we moved forward further north. Distance about, I don't know, 2,500 miles in total, which is basically a pinprick on the map of Australia. But anyway, there you go, that's what we did. And so that gives you the place we finally landed up in was around about here, this Northwest Cape Onslow area. This map is so old that the town isn't on it because it's a fairly new sort of place. But anyway, there you go. It's some kind of facts and figures. Western Australia. It has 7 million people, of whom almost 2 million live in Greater Perth. The whole thing is larger than Western Europe, including the UK, but it occupies approximately 1/3 of the Australian continent. It's roughly slightly over 9,000 miles from the UK, and it is the most isolated. They call it a capital city in the world. It's the capital of the federal state of Western Australia. If you go due west, the nearest city is Cape Town, which is about, I don't know how many thousands of miles away. But if you go east, the nearest city is Adelaide, which I think is about 2,000 miles away. Allegedly, according to them, it has the best climate in the world. So eat your heart out, San Diego. But and I didn't know this, but that Western Australia was bombed by the Japanese in World War II. Quite heavily in further north than where I was, in a place called Broome, but nevertheless, you know, there was an involvement in the bombings in the Second World War. It has a multicultural population: British, Chinese, Greek, Italians, Vietnamese, etc., and more recently some Eastern Europeans. So it's very sort of cosmopolitan. There are lots of issues about that, which we'll look at later. But anyway, that's the situation now. Of course, originally Australia belonged to the Aborigines, who treated pretty badly actually by colonial system. Population of Australia is about 25 million, of whom just under 1 million are native Australians, Aborigines. We did meet a few, and well, I'll talk a little bit about that later. Aboriginal art, this is kind of typical example, which is rather, you know, very kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it's not sort of representative. It's very kind of stylized. It's lots of dots and lines, and it's all about connection with the spirit and nature. They're very kind of spiritual sort of people. But here you can see the idea of it. Another aspect of this is a more modern. It's a quartet of paintings by Aboriginal lady. Well, I'll show you them. You tell me what you think. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's interesting.
4. So this is kind of, well, I think where she sees herself in the Australian situation. So there we have the sort of, I don't know, the mistress, if you like, sexual object, domestic servant. not quite fitting in with the white, ultra-white society, and you know, kind of socially ostracised, if you like. The Western Australian Art Gallery in Perth only shows art from painted by local people, like by people from Western Australia. Basically, there's nothing, you know, there's no Turners or Rembrandts or anything like that, and it's all kind of about local. And it was interesting place actually, but these particularly caught my eye. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's interesting the way that she portrays the white people as actually rather grey and dull, and she emphasizes her color, but with her is the colorful.
Yeah. But you know, there's a certain amount of anger in this, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean the bare feet and the you know, the sort of stereotype of a native image.
My experience was that there are some Aboriginal people who've sort of integrated into, you know, general society. Not many, I don't think. I think most of them choose to live outside of the city and in their own, you know, customs and ways. And then, of course, there are quite a few who have been fallen between the two stools, who are drug addicts, alcoholics, whatever that you see around the city, being moved on by the police and causing a bit of a nuisance and stuff. You know, I've seen that in Sydney as well before, but it's just, well, it's interesting. It's not very nice, but it's.
No.
B is for, this place is called Billabong, strangely enough, and we drove for about 250 kilometers, and this is the first place apart from in the bush where you could have a pee, basically, or a coffee or anything, you know. I mean, we'd just been on this very, very straight road, and we arrived at Billabong, and as we were going into this cafe place, a goat came out of the door. So it's kind of like, where are we? And it was a pet. The kids who lived there with their parents, it was their pet, but it wasn't like, you know, but it was very nice inside actually. But there you go. And we were always advised to fill up every time you see a petrol station, literally, because of the distances and you know. So this was, and it was another 50 kilometers before we came across anything else after this. So yeah, strange existence. Okay, B is also for beaches. Well, this is the beach, the last place we stayed. Not exactly Blackpool. There's nobody around. With the people, you can drive your 4x4 onto the beach if you live, and you did see occasional people swimming or fishing or whatever. But it looks quite rough. But it was quite nice sand actually. It was, there were some pelicans and stuff around. And this is probably 6 kilometers from the town of Exmouth. Okay, and excuse me. This is, excuse me, Coral Bay. I just, I don't know, it's a funny picture really, because it's there's so much beach, and you can see one or two people on it, but you know, it just sort of stretches into the distance. It's just amazing. This is not a shark; it's a dolphin, and we stayed in a place called Monkey Mia, MIA, which is what the sat nav called it. They called it Monkey MIA. So there you go. And every morning, dolphins used to come in for their breakfast. They weren't fed by anybody, but you weren't allowed to go into the water when they were around. They just came to the shoals of fish there, and they just came in and occasionally did, you know, a bit of flipping around and stuff. But they were kind of oblivious to the people watching. They were just came in for the breakfast and then swam away. Which is quite a nice, interesting sight, actually. Okay, E is for emus. We were having our breakfast one day on this particular place where we were staying, and two emus wandered past, quite oblivious to us, and they don't seem to be bothered by people, but apparently they can give you well, they can attack if you upset them. So it's best to just let them get on with it, you know, because they're all, I know, about 6 foot tall when they're you know, standing up, and pretty strong, I should think. But there you go. Oh, and this is the place we stayed at. This was the Ningaroo coast. This was in just outside Exmouth. This was at night, and I took this contentious picture, which reminded me of a biblical scene. Basically, we were sitting on the terrace. Although, as Jill Basson pointed out, I always love a swimming pool in a Christmas scene. But there you go. But this is the moon. And it just struck me as being, and one of my photographer friends pointed out that also the world had been tilted on its axis, but that's my photography skills. But there you go. Also, you can see the moon most of the daytime, which was interesting too. But, there you go. Seagrass, Shark Bay. I don't know if you've ever come across seagrass, but it feels like it's swallowing you up as you walk into the water. It's kind of like swimming around all the time. It is one of the let's see what's the most. It's the only flowering plants that grows underwater, basically. And it's one of the most perfect ecosystems in the world. So popular with dugongs who feed off it. Didn't see any dugongs, a bit far out, but then you know, that's what I do. And everywhere you go, there's these lovely bits of information, you know, tacked onto things too, so you can find out what's going on. Very few people around, and none of these signs are covered in graffiti or paint or people's phone numbers or whatever else. You know, there's a picture. This I didn't take this picture, you might imagine, but it is a dugong feeding on seagrass. So interesting. There you go. Oh, I don't know why I put that in. That's our accommodation in Exmouth. We had I don't know what you call it really. It's very nice anyway. It's very spacious and convenient and stuff. Here's another one of those information things talking about ecology. Ecology seems to be a very big thing in Australia. The kids it's a big part of the school curriculum. So the kids are all very knowledgeable about nature and, you know, how things work, which is nice. Okay, F is for Fremantle. Perth is a very beautiful city, but it's very much of its history has been destroyed by glass and steel. So Fremantle seems to have taken up the mantle of restoring its heritage, if you like. So this is kind of what you imagine of an Australian town with because of the heat, the covered walkways and the verandas and all the rest of it. So Fremantle has stopped people knocking down these old buildings and spent some time in restoring them, if you like. So it's much more interesting in that sense. It's very kind of bohemian, laid-back sort of place anyway, but it's a complete contrast from the Perth city. Here are this example of heard about them recently, the orphans who were sent to Australia in the middle of after the First World War, I think, and ostensibly for a better life, but in fact many of them were abused and ill-treated and was a slave labor, if you like. So this is a kind of memorial to them in the, which is rather nice, isn't it? Really? Okay, convicts. Seems to be a big deal in Fremantle. They've got a massive jail there and all the rest of it. This is in the roundhouse. The ball and chain that was attached to prisoners there was an example of it. And, you know, the verdict in court. Okay, this is a sign I liked in the street in Fremantle. ID required to gain entry regardless of age. So you're kind of, I suppose you could be 80. Clean clothing, no steel caps, boots, thongs, or Bertie suits. So Australian humour, I guess.
Well, thongs are flip-flops in Australia, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're not what we think of.
Those things. Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. I was wondering what that was about.
No. Sorry, Bernard.
Yeah.
Silent disco, I didn't, apparently lots of people know about these things, but I didn't know about it.
I don't.
It sounds like paradise. Apparently you go in and you tune in on your headphones. There's a DJ there, so you're listening to the music yourself. So there's, but you know, there's no noise going out to anybody else. So you can dance and do what you like and have a drink and stuff.
Must look odd.
I'm sure it did, but I think, who was it? Somebody. Sheila Jones said she'd been to once somewhere in England, so I don't know. But it's just a nice idea, really. I suppose if you want to go and listen to, you know, a particular type of music, but not disturb anybody else. But, anyway, it's very Australian sort of idea. Oh, this is the jail at Fremantle, which we did the tour of actually, but it was quite interesting actually. And it's operating right up until the 1990s. And it's a pretty bleak place. They did have some, towards the end of its life, lots of riots and things, and they closed it in the end. But at one time it was a place where half the inmates were Aborigines in its earlier days, which is interesting, isn't it?
What's the use for now?
Oh, it's just a museum now, but it was until, I don't know, 25 years ago or something, it was still operating as a, you know, as a full-time jail. I don't know where they go now. But, anyway, there you go.
Looks like a hotel, really.
Looks like what?
Looks like a bit of a hotel. It looks. I don't know why they abandoned it. There's nothing wrong with it, isn't there?
Well, if you get inside it, you'll see that these windows are kind of, I don't know, it's pretty grim inside actually, but there you go. The building itself is quite nice, you know. But then,
good weather.
Yeah, but you only get an hour to walk around the yard, so apparently. Yeah. This is some long-term prisoners painted some art on the walls. So pass the time. These are amazing things. There's another one here as well. Yeah, but there you go. I'm not sure what letter this comes under. GH. Homeland, I think. Australia and New Zealand are almost in the Asian region. They certainly do not belong to Europe, much less to America. This is a quote from Nehru in the 1955, which was on the wall of the art gallery, which just struck me as interesting, that's all. That they don't belong to anybody else, really. They are of themselves. Hyde Park. Perth is absolutely ram-jam full with beautiful parks. Everywhere you go, there are lovely parks. I suppose because it has the space and still the rest of it you have, but they're all wonderfully maintained and looked after, and unlike some of the things we have for these days. You notice they've got some tents and things that when we went there early in the morning, but there was something on in the afternoon, like farmers market or something like that. I think, but we didn't stay for that. But it's just very pretty park. Politics, White Australia policy. I don't need to read all of this, but basically Australia in the early 1900s was very racist, and they didn't like people from non-white countries, mostly Southeast Asia. So they set this test, the Immigration Restriction Act, which is more commonly known as the White Australia policy, and they're imposing a requirement of dictation to any individual applying for immigration to Australia. The dictation test could be issued in any language the officers decided. So it's basically they just decided who would come and who wouldn't. The purpose of this was to prevent many Asians and other non-Europeans from migrating to Australia, as one had to achieve 100% on your dictation test to be granted entry to Australia. So
a lot of British people had failed that.
Well, a lot of British people failed the test that you have to do now to become a citizenship test. But there you go. That's I suppose it was they rigged it according to who they wanted to come and who they didn't really. And this went on into, I don't know, late 1960s. I think it was only repealed, latter part of the 20th century. Now it seems that well, there are issues, of course, with in the big cities of different culture clashes, but now they seem to be more open about who they are. This
Lovely.
magnificent statue is in the harbour, not the harbour, but the jetty in centre of Perth. It's funny, really, because it's getting up towards Christmas, and the whole place is decorated with Christmas decorations and the like. But it was just weird to think of Christmas when everybody's walking about in shorts and flip flops and t-shirts. But anyway, this is an Aboriginal statue on the quayside, which is lit up at night. I mean, it's very imposing. And this is another jetty. This is way down in the Margaret River area, which is 1.85 kilometres long.
Oh, wow.
And we walked it, but you can take the train. You can see there's a train track there. It's actually quicker to walk. So the train goes so slowly that even our advanced ages, we managed to beat the train. But anyway, there you go. It apparently been falling into disrepair, but the local people have got together and restored it. So it's more of a tourist thing now, but it used to be obviously fishing, fishing thing. But they built when you get right to the far end, they built an aquarium underneath it. Not an aquarium, but you can go down below. And they've got glass in, so you're actually seeing the sea. It's not an artificial aquarium, it's the ocean around you. You can see it's amazing. But, okay. J is also for jacaranda trees, which I think is so beautiful. It's
gorgeous.
Colours and shapes. I think this was actually again in Hyde Park, but they're all over the place in the city. Oh, this is the bit I was telling you about when you get to the when you get to the end of the jetty, and this is what you see through these are the old props for the jetty. There's put newer ones in now, make it safer, but these are what have been there for 50 years or something. So, and there's you get lots of, can't see there, but there's lots of fish and sea life going on all around you. So it's like an aquarium, but it's actually the ocean, which is nice. Okay.
Wow.
Kalbarri, further up the coast, it's kind of like this place floods in the winter, apparently.
Mm.
But this is where it was the hottest that we got, 7 degrees. And we had to buy fly nets to go over our faces to keep the flies out. But it was a stunning place. There's nothing there. You're warned ages before you get in to take water with you. People go on walking trails here, but probably in the winter time rather than, you know. But there you go. It's this riverbed fills up, and there are warnings everywhere of floods up to 2 meters high. But you wouldn't believe it when you see it kind of like this. Oh, and this is Keyes for Kings Park, which is apparently the largest municipal park in the world, which looks down across Perth towards Fremantle and Swan River. It's a very beautiful park. It's enormous. It's got lots of different aspects to it. Waterworks and botanical gardens and things. You have to be careful for snakes. But and here is another view of Perth itself. You can see the corporate centre of Perth way down and the river in the background. But we spent a day there. It was just walking around it, it's really great. You can see some kangaroos down there south, but they tend to be more nocturnal, especially in the heat. So that sensibly they hide under a bush during the day and come out at night. But one night we were having dinner on a terrace near the ocean, in a very small place. And suddenly this troop of, is troop the right word? I don't know, but this gang of kangaroos came out, looked like a family, and they bounced across the road, heading towards the grass in front of the sea. And it was just terrific. It was really nice. So I know the red kangaroos, but saw quite a lot of dead ones, I'm afraid. Because they come out at night, they tend to get hit on the motorway, on the freeway. Yes, oh, this is L. L is for litter. And there's bugger all litter in Australia.
Yeah, fantastic.
Wherever you go, people stop the cars if they see a stray piece of litter by the roadside. A bottle, a plastic bottle. It's really, really good about it. And then you come home to this country. Scary, but yeah.
Was it safe to swim in the sea, or was it full of jellyfish and sharks?
The sea was wonderful.
Okay.
We did well. The sharks, you don't swim where the sharks are, but see some sharks actually. But
so are there areas made safe to go
yeah,
swimming?
Well, the like everything else, that sharks and whales migrate, and they're in certain places at certain times of the year. Apparently, where we were, there's a whole influx of whale sharks at a certain time of the year, but not when we were there. Whale sharks are the biggest fish in the sea, aren't they? But none of them were actually. It wasn't the season for it. No. Humpback whales are very important in Aboriginal folklore as well. They believe that when you die, at a certain point, your spirit is taken away by the migrating whale.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh, I rather like that.
Lovely idea, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I like that.